Tonight, let's take a slow breath together and leave the busy parts of the day behind. You don't need to hurry, and you don't need to hold on to anything anymore. Just settle in, get comfortable, and allow your thoughts to soften as they drift. In a quiet corner of the world, where evenings stretch gently and the air feels kind, there is a place where small wonders still like to hide. It's the sort of place you might stumble upon when you're not looking for anything at all. A place where the light moves softly, and even silence feels warm. As we open this story, imagine stepping into that calm, hand in hand with curiosity, without questions or expectations. Tonight, we'll wander slowly, listen carefully, and let the world reveal itself in its own time. This is a story meant to be entered gently, like turning the first page by lamplight, while the rest of the world grows quiet. When you're ready, let's begin Mia and the Lost Unicorn. The meadow always felt like it had been waiting for Mia. Not in a lonely way, and not in a way that asked anything from her. It was more like the way a favorite blanket waits at the foot of a bed, quietly ready, softly familiar, never demanding attention, but always offering comfort when you reach for it. Mia liked the end of the day best. Not because she wanted the day to be over, exactly, but because evening had a way of smoothing everything out. The world seemed to loosen its shoulders. Doors closed gently. Voices lowered. Even the air felt calmer, as if it had been warmed all afternoon and was now cooling down with a long, peaceful sigh. In Mia's village, life moved with a steady rhythm that most people didn't even notice anymore, because it had been there for as long as anyone could remember. The mornings were busy in a quiet way, buckets filled, bread carried, windows opened to let in fresh air. The afternoons were warm and simple, with neighbors calling hello over fences and cats stretching in sunny patches like they had nowhere else to be. And the evenings were made for rest. Mia was a thoughtful child, the kind who listened more than she spoke. When she did speak, her voice was soft and careful, like she was placing words gently onto a table. She had warm brown hair that often came loose from its ribbon by the time she reached the meadow, and eyes that seemed to hold a little extra patience, as if she didn't mind waiting for the world to show her its small secrets. Most evenings, when the last chores were done and the village began to settle, Mia would slip outside and follow the familiar path beyond the gardens. The path was worn smooth by many feet, and the edges were lined with low wildflowers and grasses that brushed her ankles as she walked. The meadow opened up just beyond the last fence, wide and welcoming. Tall grass swayed there like a gentle sea, bending and rising again with each passing breeze. Fireflies drifted through the air, blinking on and off like tiny lanterns that couldn't quite decide whether to stay awake. Crickets hummed their steady song, filling the space with a soft sound that felt like a heartbeat, quiet, constant, reassuring. Mia loved walking there because the meadow didn't rush her. It didn't ask her to be anything other than what she already was. She could move slowly, stop whenever she pleased, and let her thoughts settle into the calm the way leaves settle onto still water. This evening began like so many others. The sky was already changing color when Mia arrived, the blue fading into lavender, and then into that pale pink that looks like someone gently brushed the horizon with a soft cloth dipped in rose. The sun sat low, round and warm, and the shadows stretched long across the grass. Everything looked a little dreamlike in that light, as if the meadow was wearing a softer version of itself. Mia walked with her hands loosely at her sides, feeling the grass brush her legs and the coolness of the evening beginning to gather. She paused once to watch a firefly lift itself from the grass, glowing steadily for a moment before drifting away as if it remembered somewhere important to be. She smiled to herself. The meadow always had small moments like that, simple, bright, and easy to love. But as Mia wandered deeper, she felt something different. Not a fear, not a warning, just a quiet tug of curiosity, like a ribbon tied gently around her wrist. The evening felt slightly changed, though she couldn't have said why. The crickets were still humming, the fireflies still floating, the air still cool and sweet with the smell of grass. Yet something about it all seemed expectant. Mia slowed and listened. The sounds were the same. The feeling was not. She kept walking until she reached her favorite spot, an old oak tree standing a little apart from the rest of the meadow. Its trunk was wide and deeply lined, its bark rough beneath her fingers, and its roots rose in smooth curves from the earth like the backs of sleeping animals. Mia liked sitting there. The oak always felt steady, like it had watched over the meadow for 100 quiet years and had learned every gentle way to be. She sat down against one of the roots and let her shoulders relax. Above her, leaves whispered softly, brushing against one another like a secret conversation. The air smelled faintly of warm soil and crushed grass, and the light continued to soften as the sun lowered further. Mia rested there for a while, letting her mind drift. She watched the grass sway, watched the fireflies weave their slow patterns, and listened to the crickets until their song became one steady thread in the background of everything. And then she saw it. At first, it was so faint she wondered if her eyes were playing a trick. A shimmer moved between the grasses a short distance away, just a thin gliding gleam, like moonlight had arrived early and didn't quite know how to behave yet. Mia blinked, then sat up a little straighter. The shimmer moved again. It wasn't like a firefly, which blinks and darts. This was softer, smoother, like a ribbon of light sliding through the grass as if the grass were water and the light was learning how to swim. Mia stood slowly, careful not to make sudden movements. She didn't feel afraid. The shimmer didn't feel threatening. It felt curious, gentle, hesitant, almost shy. She took one step, then another, following the faint glow. The grass brushed her legs as she walked, and the sky overhead deepened into lavender and violet. Fireflies blinked around her, and the crickets continued their steady hum, as if nothing unusual was happening at all. The shimmer glided ahead of her, never too far, never too close. It led her in a slow winding path through the grass, inviting her forward without pulling. Mia followed with the same quiet wonder she might have followed a drifting feather or a floating seed. At last, the shimmer paused near a low dip in the meadow where the earth held a little more moisture and the grass grew thicker. The light gathered for a moment, becoming slightly brighter, and Mia felt her breath slow even more, as if her body knew this was a moment to be still. Then, without any suddenness, the shimmer vanished, melting into the dusk like a candle being blown out gently. Mia stood in the place where it had been, waiting. She didn't rush. She let the meadow remain calm around her. When she stepped forward, the grass parted, and she saw something pressed into the soil. A hoof print. Not the kind of hoof print left by the horses that sometimes passed near the village. This print was delicate and perfectly shaped, as if it had been placed there carefully rather than stomped into the ground. And it glowed soft silver, warm and steady, like moonlight resting on the earth. Mia crouched down, her knees sinking slightly into the grass. The glow didn't hurt her eyes. It was gentle, like a lantern behind thin cloth. The air above the hoofprint shimmered faintly, and Mia felt warmth rising from it, not heat, not fire, but the cozy warmth of something alive. She lifted her hand and held it just above the print without touching. A faint tickle of warmth brushed her palm, and her heart filled with wonder so calm it felt like a lullaby. For a few long moments, the hoofprint stayed bright and steady. And then it began to fade. Not suddenly. Not like something being taken away. It faded slowly, the way twilight fades into night, softly, patiently, in small gentle steps. The silver glow dimmed, the warmth receded, and the hoofprint's light melted back into the earth as if it had never been there. Mia watched until the last trace disappeared. The soil settled. The grass swayed. The crickets hummed. The meadow was ordinary again. Yet Mia felt something new inside her, a quiet mystery that didn't demand answers right away, only invited her to remember and wonder. She stood slowly and looked around. The oak tree waited in the distance. The village lights were beginning to glow faintly beyond the meadow, warm squares of gold in windows. Mia turned back toward home. She walked with unhurried steps, carrying the memory of the silver hoofprint like a small secret in her pocket. The meadow felt the same, but also deeper, as if it had shown her a hidden layer of itself. When she reached the village, the familiar sounds wrapped around her again, neighbors speaking softly, someone laughing, a dog padding across a porch. The comforting routine of home greeted her like warm bread. Inside her house, her mother's calm voice welcomed her, and the smell of supper filled the kitchen. Mia ate quietly, tasting the warmth of the food, listening to the gentle sounds of the house settling into evening. Later, in her bed beneath her quilt, Mia stared at the ceiling while the night sounds drifted in through the window. Crickets sang outside. A breeze moved the leaves. The village slept. Mia closed her eyes and pictured the shimmer again, like moonlight learning how to walk. What kind of creature could leave a hoofprint like that? The question wasn't sharp. It was soft, like a half-finished story waiting to be continued. As Mia's breathing slowed and her thoughts softened, she wondered if the meadow was keeping a secret just beyond her understanding, something patient and quiet, something that might reveal itself again when the world felt ready. And with that gentle curiosity resting in her chest, she drifted towards sleep, already moving slowly, peacefully, toward whatever waited beyond the village. Morning arrived in Mia's room with pale, friendly light. It slid through the curtains in thin, warm stripes, turning the dust in the air into tiny floating specks that moved slowly, as if they were swimming. The world outside sounded fresh and awake, a bird singing with clear, careful notes, and somewhere far off, the soft clink of a bucket being set down. Mia opened her eyes and lay still for a moment. She felt rested, calm, and warm under her quilt. Sleep had done its gentle work, smoothing out any rough edges of thought. Yet the memory from last evening lingered, not like a worry, but like a quiet song she couldn't stop humming inside her mind. The shimmer. The silver hoofprint. The warmth rising from the earth. Mia sat up slowly and pushed her hair back from her face. The air in the room was cool, but not unpleasant. It smelled faintly of clean fabric and the soft ash scent of last night's hearth. Downstairs, the house moved with familiar morning sounds. Her mother's footsteps were steady, unhurried. A kettle began to warm, and soon the gentle scent of tea drifted upward. Mia dressed quietly and went to the kitchen, where the morning felt welcoming and simple. Her mother glanced up and smiled. "Good morning, Mia." "Good morning," Mia replied, her voice soft. She ate her breakfast slowly, warm bread, a bit of fruit, and tea that tasted like comfort. Outside the window, the village looked as it always did, gardens neat and green, rooftops catching morning light, neighbors moving in gentle routines. Everything was steady. And still, inside Mia, the curiosity remained. After breakfast, when the dishes were rinsed and the small chores finished, Mia stepped outside. The air was crisp and clean. The sky was a calm blue with thin, drifting clouds like soft wool stretched across the morning. Mia didn't set out with determination, as if she had a mission. She simply let her feet carry her along a familiar path, the one that led toward the forest beyond the meadow. The villagers called it the Forest of Soft Echoes. It wasn't a frightening forest. It was tall and quiet, full of steady trees and mossy stones, and it held sounds in a gentle way. If you spoke there, your voice sometimes came back to you softened and changed, as if the forest listened first, then answered in a whisper. Mia had always liked that. As she approached the tree line, the air shifted. It grew cooler, and the scent of pine and damp earth wrapped around her. The ground beneath her feet became springy, cushioned by layers of fallen leaves that had softened over time. Mia stepped into the forest without hurry. Light filtered through the canopy above, breaking into gentle beams that moved slowly as branches swayed. The forest felt like a place where the world spoke more quietly, and Mia naturally matched that quiet with her own gentle movements. Birds flitted overhead, their wings making soft, quick sounds. Ferns curled near the base of trees like green lace. A spiderweb caught a beam of sunlight and shimmered like a thin necklace strung between branches. Mia followed a narrow path, winding deeper. She listened to her footsteps, the quiet crunch of leaves beneath her shoes. And then she noticed something strange. The echo that usually followed her steps was different today. In the forest of soft echoes, a sound often returned from the trees, a faint repeat, like a gentle copy. But now, when Mia stepped, the sound didn't come back the same way. It returned softer than expected, muffled, as if the forest were holding it close instead of letting it bounce. Mia slowed. She stepped again, deliberately. Crunch, and then only the faintest echo, padded with moss. It felt less like the forest was repeating her, and more like it was listening. Mia stopped and stood still. The forest held its hush. Even the distant murmur of water, perhaps a stream, seemed quieter, as if it, too, was being careful. Mia breathed in, slowly and deeply. The air tasted green and cool. She didn't feel fear. She felt a gentle pull, the same kind of quiet invitation she had felt in the meadow the night before. Without quite knowing why, she stepped off the main path, following a subtle sense of direction. The forest didn't resist her. Branches leaned aside. The ferns thinned. The ground sloped gently downward as if it were guiding her toward something resting below. Soon, she heard water more clearly. A stream ran ahead, narrow and clean, winding through the trees like a ribbon. Its surface caught the light and broke it into small silver shapes that danced and drifted away. Mia approached carefully. At first, she saw a pale shape near the stream and thought it might be a fallen branch or a large smooth stone. Then the shape shifted, slowly, like something waking from a long nap. Mia's breath softened in her chest. A unicorn lay beside the stream. Not the shining, dramatic unicorn from bright stories, galloping across glittering fields. This unicorn looked tired and gentle, resting in a patch of moss as if it had finally found a place soft enough to stop. Its body was pale cream, with a faint pearly sheen that caught the quietest light. Its mane flowed along its neck in long strands the color of early morning clouds, threaded with hints of silver. Its eyes were large, dark, and calm, and its horn, spiraled and smooth, was there, but dim, as though whatever light belonged in it had grown faint with weariness. Mia stood a few steps away and let herself be still. The unicorn's ears flicked, turning toward her. Its gaze settled on her without alarm. Mia crouched slowly near the stream and dipped her hands into the cool water. She lifted water in her palms like a small bowl and held it out, keeping her movements gentle. "Would you like some?" she whispered. The unicorn shifted its head slightly toward her hands. It drank slowly, carefully, as if even drinking required a bit of effort. Mia kept her hands steady, feeling the water tremble faintly as the creature sipped. When it finished, the unicorn lifted its head just a little higher. Its breathing was calm, but Mia could see the faint tremble in its muscles. It looked like a traveler who had walked too far, then finally found a place to rest. Mia sat down on the moss a short distance away, not too close. She didn't speak much. She simply stayed. The forest around them remained hushed, as if it understood this was a quiet moment. The stream murmured softly. Leaves shifted high above, making a sound like gentle paper. Mia watched the unicorn's side rise and fall with its breathing, and she understood something without needing words. The unicorn was lost. Not panicked, not frightened, but far from where it belonged. Mia thought of the silver hoofprint in the meadow. She looked at the unicorn's hooves, partially hidden in moss, and for a moment she imagined that same soft warmth and glow. She reached into her small satchel, took out a piece of bread, and broke off a small bit. She placed it on a flat stone nearby, offering it without pushing it forward. The unicorn didn't eat right away. It only watched her, as if learning what kind of person she was. Time moved slowly in that forest, like water in a quiet stream. Mia's breathing matched the calm rhythm of the place. She felt, more than heard, the forest's softened echoes, gentle, attentive. After a while, the unicorn's eyes closed, then opened again. Mia felt something in her chest, not a voice, not words, but a clear warm feeling that seemed to pass from the unicorn to her. Gratitude. It was like sunlight slipping through leaves, warming her gently from the inside. Mia nodded slightly, acknowledging it without needing to speak. "It's okay," she whispered. "You can rest." The unicorn exhaled, long and steady, and Mia noticed the faintest shimmer near its horn, just a small pulse of light, as if the creature's calm was slowly returning to it. The day shifted toward evening. The sunlight turned warmer, then softer, then began to fade through the canopy. The forest grew quieter still. Birds settled. The stream's song seemed to slow. Mia looked up at the sky through the leaves. Lavender was creeping in again. She turned back to the unicorn and felt another gentle truth settle inside her. The unicorn could not stay here much longer. Not because the forest was unkind. It was kind. But the unicorn belonged somewhere else, somewhere that matched its quiet light. The longer it stayed away from that place, the more its horn might dim, the more tired it might become. Mia leaned forward slightly, her voice low. "Do you know where you need to go?" The unicorn's ears lifted. Its gaze moved past Mia, toward the deeper forest, then toward open land. Mia felt a faint impression, mist, soft light, safety. Not a map, but a feeling. Mia swallowed gently and nodded, as if she had been given instructions in a language made of warmth. "All right," she whispered. "We can go slowly." The unicorn shifted, gathering its legs beneath it. It rose carefully, like someone standing after a long rest. Its hooves pressed into the moss with almost no sound. When it stood fully, it didn't look grand. It looked steady, quietly ready. Mia stepped back to give it space, then turned toward the path out of the forest. She began walking at a pace that felt right, unhurried, calm, easy. Behind her, the unicorn followed. It didn't crowd her. It didn't rush. It moved like a soft shadow, its presence gentle and warm. As they reached the edge of the forest and the open land stretched out beneath the deepening sky, Mia felt the world widening around her. The village was behind her, safe and steady. But ahead was something else, something quiet and unknown, asking only for patience and kindness. And as the first stars began to appear overhead, Mia and the unicorn stepped forward together, following the feeling of safety that waited somewhere beyond the hills. Twilight deepened as Mia and the unicorn moved out from the forest shelter and into open land. The air felt freer here, carrying the scent of grass and distant wildflowers. The wind had more room to travel, and it moved across the hills in slow ripples that made the grass sway like a soft blanket being smoothed into place. Mia walked steadily, her steps calm and sure, though she had never taken this route before. She wasn't certain where she was going in the way you are certain of a street or a doorway. She was certain in a different way, certain like you are when you follow a familiar melody, even if you don't know how the song will end. Behind her, the unicorn walked quietly. Its hooves made almost no sound on the earth, and yet Mia could feel its presence like a gentle warmth at her back. Every so often, she glanced over her shoulder to make sure it was still there, and each time the unicorn met her gaze with calm, dark eyes. The path they followed was barely visible at first. It wasn't a road. It wasn't lined with fences or marked by signs. It was simply a place where the grass grew slightly shorter, where the ground seemed a little more worn, as if many feet had once traveled there long ago. Mia remembered hearing old stories, half told in kitchens and on porches, about a route people used in earlier times, before the village had become what it was now. A path that wound through hills and open land, connecting places that most villagers no longer visited. Now, as Mia walked, she felt like she was stepping into one of those stories, not loudly, but gently, like sliding into a warm bath. Night settled. The sky turned deep violet, then almost black, and stars began to appear, soft points of light scattered across the wide, open heavens. They didn't feel cold or distant. They felt close, like tiny watchful eyes that were kind enough not to stare. Mia's breathing slowed. The world around her seemed to quiet, as if even the wind was learning to speak in whispers. And then she noticed the stones. They were smooth and rounded, half buried along the faint path. At first, they looked ordinary, just old rocks worn by time. But as darkness deepened, the stones began to glow faintly. Not bright like lanterns, not sharp like sparks. Their glow was soft and milky, like starlight resting on the ground. Mia stopped and knelt beside one. The stone was cool under her fingertips, solid and real. Yet the glow seemed to come from within it, as if it held a memory of the sky. It reminded her of fireflies, but steadier. It reminded her of the hoofprint from the meadow, but calmer, more constant. She looked down the path and saw that the stones continued, scattered like a trail of fallen stars. The path was being marked for them, not with loud signs, but with gentle light, as if the earth itself wanted to help them find their way. Mia stood, feeling a quiet comfort settle into her chest. Behind her, the unicorn stepped closer. Its horn glowed a little brighter in response to the stone's light, as if it recognized something familiar. Mia reached out slowly and, without grabbing or pulling, rested her hand briefly on the unicorn's neck. The creature's coat felt smooth and cool, like fine silk warmed slightly by breath. The unicorn didn't flinch. It leaned into the touch just enough to show it accepted her. Mia withdrew her hand gently. "Let's keep going," she whispered. They moved onward, guided by the faint glowing stones. The journey was not filled with obstacles. No storms rose. No loud dangers appeared. Instead, the world offered them quiet moments, one after another, like pages in a peaceful book. They walked until Mia felt her legs beginning to tire, then they stopped. She sat on the grass, and the unicorn lowered itself beside her, folding its legs carefully. The air was cool, and Mia pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders. The wind moved through the grass with a soft sigh. Somewhere far away, an owl called once, then fell silent again. The stars overhead seemed brighter now, not because they had changed, but because Mia was paying closer attention. She lay back and looked up. The sky was wide and filled with gentle light. The stars seemed softer than usual, as if they were wrapped in thin mist. Mia felt a strange peace, like the world was larger than she had ever imagined, and yet that largeness was comforting, not frightening. Beside her, the unicorn's breathing was deep and steady. Its horn glowed faintly, and Mia noticed that it seemed stronger than before. Not fully bright yet, but steadier, as if each calm moment was feeding it. Mia realized something then. The unicorn drew strength from kindness. Not only kindness in action, like giving water, but kindness in atmosphere, the quiet patience of walking slowly, the gentle steadiness of being present without demanding anything. Mia felt quietly proud, not in a loud way. More like the warm satisfaction of knowing she was doing something right by simply being gentle. Later, they rose and walked again. The stones continued to glow, guiding them through the night. Sometimes the path dipped between hills, where the wind softened and the air grew warmer for a moment. Sometimes it climbed, where the breeze touched Mia's face like cool fingers. The unicorn stayed close, its presence becoming more confident as the hours passed. And then, in the quietest part of the night, Mia felt something shift again, an impression drifting toward her like mist. It was the unicorn's memory. Not a clear picture, not a story told in words, but fragments of feeling. A valley filled with mist and warm light, streams murmuring, trees blooming softly. A place where the air itself glowed, where resting felt as natural as breathing. Mia's heart softened. "That's home," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was speaking to herself or to the unicorn. The unicorn's ears flicked, and its horn brightened slightly, as if agreeing. They rested once more beneath the open sky, and Mia dozed for a while, her sleep light but refreshing. Her dreams were full of soft light and drifting petals. When she woke, the sky was beginning to change. The blackness at the edge of the horizon was thinning into deep blue. The stars faded slowly, not disappearing, but retreating like shy guests leaving quietly. The air grew cooler with the approach of dawn. Mia stood and stretched, her breath forming faint clouds. The unicorn rose too, steadier now. It looked less weary, more like itself, whatever that truly meant. As they walked into the earliest light, the land ahead began to shift subtly. Mist appeared in low pockets, drifting over the grass like breath. The scent of water and flowers grew stronger. The air felt softer, warmer, as if it carried a glow inside it. Mia's steps slowed, not because she was tired, but because she felt the importance of this change. The path of glowing stones led them forward, and the unicorn's horn shone steadily now, like a quiet lantern. Mia lifted her gaze and saw the land folding downward ahead. A valley waited beyond the next hill. And as the morning light rose, Mia felt a calm certainty that they were nearing the place the unicorn remembered, a place of gentle light where the journey could finally exhale into rest. The hill was not steep, and Mia climbed it slowly, letting her breathing stay calm and even. The unicorn walked beside her now, closer than before, as if it felt safe enough to share the front of the path. Its manner shifted with each step, catching the pale dawn light and turning it into soft silver threads. When they reached the top, Mia paused. The valley spread out below them like a hidden secret kept safe between the hills. Mist drifted there in thin, slow layers, curling over the grass and around the trunks of flowering trees. Streams wound through the land, their water catching a steady warm glow that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The light in the valley was different from sunlight. It wasn't bright or sharp. It was warm, constant, and soft, like the inside of a lantern, like the glow behind closed eyelids when you are drifting toward sleep. It made everything look gentle and timeless, as if the valley existed in a quiet hour that never rushed forward. Mia stood still for a long moment, just taking it in. The air smelled sweet, like blossoms and clean water and the soft green scent of living grass. She could hear the streams murmuring, and their sound was so soothing it felt like the world was humming to itself. Then Mia saw them. Unicorns. They were scattered throughout the valley, resting as peacefully as clouds. Some lay in the grass, their bodies half hidden by mist. Some stood near the streams, heads lowered as if listening to the water. Others walked slowly beneath flowering branches, petals drifting down around them like gentle snow. They were different colors, creamy white, pale gold, soft gray, even a faint rosy tone that looked like dawn caught in fur. Their manes flowed in quiet waves, and their horns glowed softly, each one holding a different warmth of light. The valley felt full of belonging. Mia looked beside her at the unicorn she had met in the forest. Its horn brightened steadily now, as if the valley's light was calling to it. The creature's posture lifted, not dramatically, but in the quiet way someone stands taller when they finally return to a place they know. Mia swallowed gently, feeling both content and a tender ache of sadness. She knew, without needing to be told, that this was where the unicorn belonged. They began to walk down into the valley. With each step, the air seemed warmer. The mist brushed Mia's skin like cool silk. Flower petals drifted across the path, landing softly at her feet. The unicorn moved forward with growing steadiness, its hooves pressing into the grass without sound. Its horn shone brighter, and the dimness Mia had first seen beside the stream was gone now, replaced by a full, calm glow. A unicorn approached them older-looking, with a manner that flowed like silver thread and eyes that held deep quiet kindness. It did not hurry. It came slowly, stopping a few steps away, then lowering its head. The lost unicorn stepped forward and touched noses with the older one. The gesture was so gentle it felt like a sigh. Mia watched, her heart filling with warmth. More unicorns turned their attention toward them, but they did not crowd or celebrate loudly. They simply shifted closer in a calm gathering, forming a quiet circle of welcome. The lost unicorn exhaled deeply, and its entire body seemed to relax. It was no longer a traveler in the wrong place. It was home. Mia stood at the edge of the group, hands clasped loosely in front of her, feeling the valley's light settle around her like a blanket. The lost unicorn turned its head toward her. Its eyes met Mia's, and in that look, Mia felt everything they had shared: stillness by the stream, quiet walking under stars, gentle pauses in the wind. Then she felt something pass from the unicorn to her. Not a physical gift. Not a shining object to carry. A memory. A small glowing memory placed inside her like a warm ember that would never burn, only comfort. It was a feeling of belonging, of gentle light, of safety so calm it felt like rest itself. Mia's breath caught softly, and her eyes filled a little, but she did not cry. The moment was too peaceful for sharp emotion. "Thank you," Mia whispered. The unicorn blinked slowly, and Mia felt its gratitude wash over her again, warm, steady, calm. Then, without fear or hesitation, the unicorn turned away from Mia and walked deeper into the valley, joining the others. Its horn shone brightly now, and its steps were smooth and untroubled. Mia watched until it blended into the mist and flowering trees. She remained still for a while, letting the scene settle into her mind. Streams murmured. Blossoms drifted. Unicorns rested, peaceful as the sky. The valley did not demand anything from her. It did not ask her to stay. It simply offered its gentle light, then let her decide. Mia turned slowly. She felt ready to go home. As she began walking back toward the hills, she glanced over her shoulder once. The unicorn she had helped stood near a stream now, calm and safe, its mane stirring slightly in the mist. It looked at Mia with quiet understanding, as if it knew she would find her way. Mia lifted her hand in a small, gentle wave. Then she continued up out of the valley. The path back felt shorter and softer. The hills seemed less wide. The air felt lighter. Mia's steps were steady, her body warmed not only by movement but by the glowing memory inside her. As the day moved on, the sun rose fully and the sky turned bright blue. Mist faded behind her. The scent of blossoms grew faint. Mia walked through open land, through patches of tall grass, along gentle slopes. She rested when she needed to, drank from small springs, and let the wind cool her cheeks. And slowly, like a familiar song returning, she began to recognize the land. The edge of the forest appeared in the distance. The meadow's wide openness waited beyond it. By the time she reached the meadow, evening was gathering again, as if the world had turned in a slow circle and brought her right back to where she began. The sky was lavender. The shadows were long. The crickets had started their humming, steady and soothing. Mia stepped into the meadow and felt it greet her like an old friend. The meadow looked exactly as it always had, and that sameness felt like comfort. Tall grass swayed in gentle waves, brushing Mia's legs as she walked. Fireflies blinked on and off, floating like tiny lanterns that didn't need to shine too brightly to be seen. The cricket's song rose and fell in soft rhythms, steady as breathing. Mia moved slowly toward the old oak tree. It stood where it always stood, wide and grounded, its branches stretching out like calm arms. Its bark was rough beneath her palm when she reached it, and the roots curved above the earth in familiar shapes, perfect for sitting. Mia rested her hand there for a moment, feeling the tree's steadiness. She glanced down at the ground, half expecting something, a silver hoofprint, a faint shimmer, a sign that the meadow's secret was still close. But the earth was ordinary. No glow, no warmth, just soil and grass and the quiet truth that some wonders appear only when they are needed. Mia didn't feel disappointed. She felt peaceful. Because inside her, the gentle light remained. The unicorn's gift, the warm memory of belonging and calm, sat quietly in her chest like a small lantern that never flickered. It didn't make her feel excited or restless. It made her feel steady. Mia turned toward home, and the village lights were already beginning to glow in windows. As she walked back, neighbors greeted her, and she greeted them with soft smiles. The world seemed unchanged, the same fences, the same gardens, the same familiar voices. And yet, Mia felt richer, not because she had something to show, but because she carried a deeper sense of connection to the wider world. At home, supper was warm and simple. The house smelled like bread and herbs and comfort. Mia ate quietly, listening to her mother's calm movements and the gentle settling sounds of evening. Later, she climbed into bed and pulled her quilt up to her chin. Outside, the night wrapped the village in quiet. Crickets sang. A breeze moved through leaves. Somewhere far away, an owl called once, then silence returned. Mia closed her eyes. She pictured the valley again, the mist, the warm light with no clear source, the streams murmuring like lullabies. She pictured the unicorn safe among its kind, horn glowing brightly, body resting peacefully. And then she let the picture fade. Not because she wanted to forget, but because she understood something gentle and important. Magic did not have to keep you awake. It didn't have to demand more. It could be like a soft blanket pulled gently into place, warming you, comforting you, then letting you rest. Mia's breathing slowed. The glowing memory inside her remained steady, like a quiet heartbeat of light. The world was full of secrets, she knew now. But they were not loud secrets. They were patient ones, waiting beyond the edges of familiar places, ready to reveal themselves only when kindness and calm made room. As sleep came softly over her, Mia felt grateful for the meadow, for the forest, for the path of forgotten stars, for the valley of gentle light. And most of all, for the quiet truth that after any journey, no matter how strange or wonderful, rest was always waiting. And as she drifted into sleep beneath the same sky that watched over the valley and the village alike, Mia wondered very gently what other calm wonders might someday appear, not to pull her away from home, but to remind her that the world's quiet magic would always be there, breathing softly in the background, ready whenever she was.